Hi everyone, it's Keely here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another soap making video. I'm adding another scrubby soap into my range. I don't have much call for them, but I do have a couple of customers that do like the soaps with the exfoliating bits in them. And because it's been a while since I made a coffee soap, I decided to do one of these. Now the other thing I decided, I wanted to have a go at doing an ombre soap because I've been really inspired by Lee over at Wicked Lee to give this a go. I did make one a couple of years ago and it really wasn't too successful, so I'm hoping now that I've had a few soaps under my belt that I might be able to get the ombre effect. So let's go and see if I can do this and make the But First coffee soap. Let's go. Right, because we are making a coffee soap, the first thing I am going to do is I am actually going to brew some coffee. And to do that, I am going to use some distilled water. I've worked out that I want about 300 grams of coffee in this. And the way I've worked that out is I worked out how much sodium hydroxide and distilled water that I needed. I wanted to do a 1-for-1 of water and sodium hydroxide, so I got down to about 260 I think I used of water, and it was about 250 of sodium hydroxide. Now I use a little bit more water just to account for any steam that may come off when you mix that up through that exothermic reaction. And then I worked out that I needed 300 grams of coffee. I've taken this up to 400 grams water because as I boil this up, we're going to lose a little bit of that water. And then when we put the coffee grinds in, the coffee grinds are also going to absorb a little bit of that as well. So I want to make sure that I've got as close to 300 grams of coffee as I possibly can. So I'm going to go and boil this, and then we're going to make a strong brew of coffee. Alright, so the water has come up to boil and we are going to make some coffee, and I've just got a little coffee plunger here. I have got my coffee in this pot and I'm going to make a nice strong cup of coffee, probably one that you wouldn't drink unless you were a very, very keen coffee fan. I am going to put 2 really good heaped spoonfuls and then just another slightly smaller one, and I am going to pour all of this water onto my coffee here. Then we will let it sit for a little while before I plunge it. Alright, so we're going to pop the lid on that so that we don't lose too much of the water through steam evaporation. I'm going to leave it sit here for a couple of minutes before I come and plunge it, just so that coffee can really infuse into the water. And then I will leave this one sit here until it comes down to room temperature, and I'm going to go and prepare all the oils and lye water so we can make the soap. Okay, so our oils and our lye water have come down to room temperature, as has our coffee. I poured off the 300 grams that I needed, and I have also reserved some of the coffee grinds as well to go into the soap for some exfoliation. Now there are a couple of ways in which you can do coffee soap, or when you're adding your different liquids. Some people would actually use a full coffee amount, and if you're going to do that, you need to be freezing your coffee first so that the lye doesn't scorch the coffee and produce an awful aroma. For me, I actually don't have a freezer in my shed. It's in the house, and we have one of those drawer freezers, and you try and put ice cubes in there with water like that, and I end up with stuff all through the freezer, which is why I tend to always do my sodium hydroxide in distilled water and then make up the rest of the volume of liquid, which I am going to pour straight into my oils. And that is so that my lye water solution doesn't heat up when I add my coffee in. So I've poured that one in. I am also going to colour this before I put my lye water solution in as well. I have got here some chocolate Mediterranean clay because I want the base colour of this to be a really dark brown, and then we are going to go up and do an ombre effect. Now it's been a long time since I did my very first ombre, and it wasn't very successful, so this is only going to be the second time I've ever done one, so fingers crossed it works well. I'm also going to add in a good amount of mocha mica because, as I said, I want the base of this to be a really dark brown, and then we're going to come up into some lighter shades. So I'm going to get that mixed in. I'm then going to pour my lye water solution down the stick blender and mix that until it comes to an emulsion. Okay, so while I am at this stage, I'm going to put my coffee grinds in. Now, you would have seen the sieve there before. I completely forgot. I was actually going to strain that lye water solution. For the first time ever, I have actually ended up with a little bit of lye lint in there. But I know with a good mix, that will actually all dissolve out through my soap. So it's not too big a deal, really. So we'll get all of those coffee grinds in there like so. Now the coffee fragrance, I'm going to add that in now. The one I'm using today comes from a place called Heirloom Bath and Body Care, or Heirloom Body Care, I think it's actually called. And it's got notes of coffee, maple syrup, vanilla, caramel and cacao in it. And I really, really like this one. I'm very fussy with my coffee aromas because quite often I think they smell very chemical-like. This one does have a really good, strong coffee smell, almost like a Turkish or a Greek coffee smell to it. So I'll get that all mixed in well, and then we will start doing the pour into our mold. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got this little pair of scales here. I'm going to use this jug that I had the coffee in, let it tear out, and I'm going to pour off about 300 grams of my soap mix here. Then what we're going to do is grab our mold here, and I am going to pour that one into the basin. You know what, I'm just going to go flat. I see a lot of people do these ombres and have it on a tilt, but I think we're going to go flat. Okay, so now that I've got that one in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about a half teaspoon of titanium, in fact we'll make it a whole teaspoon of titanium dioxide, add it into there, and I am going to give that a mix. Hopefully we won't get this so thick that I can't do anything with it. And I think I need a little bit more than a teaspoon, so let's go for 2 teaspoons of titanium dioxide in there. We'll give that a quick mix with the stick blender. I'm going to pour off another 300 grams into my jug here. And then I'm going to pour this one on top of this layer. Alright, so I can actually feel that this is actually quite warm as I'm pouring, so I am going to have to work quickly here to make sure we don't end up with soap in this bucket here. So I am going to put some music on. I'm pretty much going to do the same the whole time. I'm going to put in a total of a tablespoon of titanium dioxide. I'm going to mix it up, pour off 300 grams and pour it in, and then repeat the process again. So I'm down to the last layer here. I have lightened this up as much as I possibly can. We're going to pop that on the top. I am laughing at the absolute mess that I have made, and all I can really think about is Kenny the Messy Soaper over at Royal Appleberry. I think I have given her a run for her money today with just how messy my workbench is. This ombre layer effect certainly is not a very neat technique for myself, but I am loving how it has come together, liking that slow, gradual colour change that we've got in there. At the moment, it's not smelling too crash hot, and that is just simply because of that lye interacting with the coffee. But as soon as this has saponified overnight, I know that that coffee fragrance is really going to shine through. So I'm just going to get all of this piled out of my bucket and onto the top of this soap here. Alright, so we just had a quick tidy up there, and what I'm now going to do is just play in the top of this. Even though this has thickened up on me, it is still very, very workable, very, very fluid as well. I'm not after high peaks on this one. I just want a little bit of movement in the top that doesn't look like it's not been... perfect is not the right word. It's... decorated would probably be the right way, rather than the soap just falling however it has. Just want to make sure it looks even and presentable when we cut it into our bars. To the top of this I have got some dry coffee beans, and that's just fallen straight through the sieve here, and I'm just going to actually tap that across the top there just to really bring all that in together. Loving how that is looking. And then just to finally finish it off, I have got some melt and pour coffee bean shapes here, and I'm going to place one into the center of every single one of these soap bars. So I'm just going to make sure that they're pushed down so that they don't fall out at any stage, and they're just going to have one little simple one. So here is our But First coffee soap, and I'm going to leave it sit here overnight, and then we'll come back and we'll cut it open and we'll see if we'll manage to get a really nice ombre effect through this one. We are now ready to cut into But First coffee, and from what I can see on the sides of this soap, it looks like we may actually have that ombre effect in here. So I am very excited to get this one cut open. What I am going to do is actually lay this down on the soap cutter so that it is facing me. Although I've got the coffee grinds on the inside of the soaps, there's potential for it to drag through. I think if I cut it so the wires pull the top coffee granules through, I will get a lot more streak marks. So by putting it this way, the wires are going to pull the coffee away from the soap. If you put it on this side, it's still going to drag it through just a little bit. So we will go this way, and let's cut this open and see what we've got on the inside here. So through we go. It's nice and soft, so cutting really nicely. And let's take a look. Alright, so let's grab this end one and we'll see what our ombre looks like. And that is the inside. I am so pleased with how that has come together. I've got a total of 9 layers in there. You can see where the layers are, but it also very slowly graduates up into this lighter colour here, and it looks like there's just enough coffee beans or coffee granules in it, so it's not going to be too scratchy, but you're going to get just enough of that exfoliating effect from it. And then each of them have got their little coffee beans sitting on the top. It is smelling so good. It definitely does not have that sort of chemical smell that I find most coffee fragrances get. You are getting that sort of sweetness from out of the maple, but you are also getting that nice strong coffee smell as well. And the sort of smell that you get from the coffee water when you add it in, that has all disappeared as well as it's sat and it's done its thing overnight. I am absolutely loving how this has come together. Alright, so these are going to be pretty much the same the whole way through, so I'll just grab these 2 last bars here. We've got our coffee beans, and there is our sort of gradual line going up through the middle there. I am really pleased with these. I hope you have enjoyed watching how I made my But First coffee in an ombre effect. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. If you've got any questions, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And until the next video, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you then. Bye.